Ananzi and the Turtle, an African folktale of Anansi the trickster. Anansi the trickster, spider, and god of all stories, was sitting down to eat his evening meal. He had been slowly boiling yams and then had mashed them up, releasing their sweet, earthy, fragrant aroma into the air. They smelled so good that they soon reached the nose of a turtle quite a ways down the path. The turtle had been traveling for days, and as you know, turtles may be steady, but they're also very, very slow, so it had been a long while since his last meal. When the fragrant scent of the yams nestled in his nostrils, his mouth began to water, and he was soon nearly drooling. At the time, in Anansi's part of the world, it was customary for a home to offer to share their meal. This was especially true near the holidays, which indeed it was when the turtle happened by Anansi's home. Knowing this, the turtle stopped and knocked politely on Anansi's door. The spider opened it.
Hello, friend Anansi. I've been traveling for many days, and these old turtle legs aren't so fast as they once were. I don't suppose you have a bite of yams to share?
Anansi frowned. He was a very greedy sort and hated to share. So he looked left, looked right, and just pretended not to see the turtle down there by the ground. He shut the door in the creature's face. Thinking, or maybe just hoping, that it had been an honest mistake, the turtle knocked on the door once more. Anansi opened it, and Turtle smiled.
Hello, friend. Down here. Anansi, it's me, Turtle.
The spider looked down and sighed.
It's great to see you, Anansi. Like I said, I've been on the road for days, and I'm very, very hungry. I don't suppose you could share a bit of yam with me? They certainly smell delicious.
Anansi sighed again. He knew that by law and custom, he had to let the turtle eat with him.
Of course. Come in and eat of my dinner.
So the turtle came in, one slow step at a time, and sat himself at Anansi's table. The trickster wasn't happy about it, though, and immediately began to think of a way to keep all the yams for himself. Clever as he was, it didn't take Anansi long to think of just the thing.
Oh, but Turtle, your hands are terribly dirty from walking all that way. You know it's custom to wash them before you eat.
True, true. Which way to your washroom?
Anansi lied.
Alas, I don't have one. But if you go out my door, there is a stream just a minute down the way.
The turtle nodded and started his walk. Slow as he was, it took him quite a long time to get to the stream and back, just like Anansi planned. When he arrived back at the table and reached for a yam, Anansi stopped him once again.
Turtle, your hands are even dirtier than before. You washed them and walked up the road, and now they're nothing but mud. Go clean them properly and don't come back until you have.
Suspecting a trick, but unable to refuse, the turtle once more made his slow way down the stream. This time, he washed extra carefully, fronts and backs of his hands, and dried them on some clean grass. Once done, he walked back to Anansi's house using only his back legs. You may think turtles are slow already, but this was even slower, painfully slow, agonizingly slow. So slow that the turtle's stomach was rumbling like thunder by the time he finally made it back to the tricky Anansi's door. When the turtle sat back at the table, to his intense dismay, he found that all the yams were gone. Anansi, in his greed, had eaten every last bite, leaving not so much as a crumb for the poor old turtle. Anansi smiled, quite pleased with himself. But the turtle knew better than to argue with the trickster god. Instead, He just ignored his rumbling stomach and shook one of Anansi's hands.
Thanks for sharing your food, Anansi. If you're ever in the area of my old creek, feel free to stop and share a meal with me.
Anansi laughed as the turtle made his hungry way home. A few days later, the spider was feeling hungry, though, and didn't feel like cooking. He decided it was the perfect time to take up Turtle on his dinner invitation. He made his way to the old creek and found Turtle sitting on the shore relaxing.
Hello, friend Turtle. I've come to take you up on your dinner invitation.
Of course, welcome.
Turtle hurried to stand up.
Just let me set the table. I'll be back in a minute.
The turtle turned and slid into the creek, swimming deep beneath the windswept surface. After many minutes of impatient waiting by Anansi, the turtle surfaced once more.
All right, friend Anansi, dinner is served.
The turtle turned and dove back beneath the water, swimming easily down to the bottom of the creek where he had set a beautiful table of driftwood. Anansi could see it was piled high with delectable foods of all kinds. Mouth-watering now, he dove into the creek and swam down. The table was deeper than it had seemed. Anansi swam even harder, pulling against the water, clawing against the water. But he was only able to get halfway down before... Pop! He shot back up to the surface. Grumbling, but not so easily beaten, Anansi climbed a stone and jumped into the water, crashing deeper than before and swimming down even farther than before. This time, he could see Turtle seated at the table, beginning to eat the feast he had laid. And what a feast it was! Anansi saw crabs and clams and eel, and then... pop! He shot back up to the surface. Angry now, and even more determined to eat the delicious meal, Anansi climbed up and up and up a mighty tree that grew overhanging the creek. He dove straight down, deeper than ever before, and this time he even managed to lay a hand on his chair. Getting the full view of the crabs and clams and eels and noticing delicious lily pads and watercress, he tried to sit, but as soon as he moved his hands, pop! He shot back up to the surface. Anansi clearly floated too well to join the creek bed banquet, but he isn't called the trickster god for nothing. With a sly grin, he filled all of his pockets of his jacket with pebbles. It made walking on the shore a heavy task, but when he jumped into the water, he sank right to the bottom. Anansi settled into his seat at the table, smiling his greedy smile.
Hello, friend Turtle. Very kind of you to have me for dinner. It all looks delicious.
It did look delicious. No one could deny that. The crabs were fresh and meaty, the clams even more so. The eel was prepared with careful spices, and the lily pads and watercress had just been picked that morning. Anansi reached out to load his plate, but Turtle stopped him.
Oh, but Anansi, just like it's not polite to eat with one's hands, it's certainly not polite to eat in one's jacket. You know it's custom to take it off before you eat.
Anansi glared at the smiling turtle, but he knew that he'd been out-tricked at his own game.
True.
The spider shook his head and he undid his buttons. As Anansi slipped off his jacket, it quickly sank to the floor of the creek. Anansi, no longer weighed down, tried to reach for his plate once more and pop! He shot back up to the surface. And there he floated, where he could only watch with jealousy as the turtle slowly ate every morsel of the delicious feast by himself. So remember, when you get it in your head to trick someone, there's always someone out there who'll be able to trick you in return. Better to be polite than to go home hungry. The end.